season is inching closer and closer for Penn State football, which means things are starting to shape themselves out a little bit more. We've learned more, so we've brought Chris with us back here once again on this episode of the Big Ten Huddle, the Penn State football show that we do every Thursday at noon. And we have some fall camp updates to get to, some offensive line stuff, maybe a change in the running back room from what we previously thought, and some more info about the team overall. Chris, we are so glad to have you back, and you've been paying attention to what's going on at fall camp, talking to some people behind the scenes. What has been the latest? Well, start with whatever you want to start with, and then let us know the latest on the offensive line and kind of what's happening there.
Yeah, sure. Just give you a quick introduction. I know you got some new guys here and there. Listen, so this is one thing I want to clarify, because I know last video, some guys in the comments had a few things to say here and there. Listen, I'm not an insider, and I've gone out of my way. JR will tell you that from the very beginning. He wants to introduce me as an insider. I've never claimed I'm an insider. My background, basically, I do know a few people that are pretty connected to the program. That, in fact, one guy texts me weekly, says direct connections, like, I'm going to talk to so-and-so. Any questions? What do you want me to ask? What do you want me to look for? It's just things of that nature. Not an insider, just have a few little connections here and there. Back when the old Rivals, before Rivals merged with On 3, I did do player evaluations for Rivals, and that's kind of like what I really like doing, my strong suit. So that's pretty much it. Just a guy with a few guys that know some people, some connections, that share some things, and just a diehard Penn State fan, and follow the program closely. So we'll jump right into it. Offensive line. So the starters are pretty much set in stone. You're going to have, by now I'm sure most people who follow Penn State know, you're going to have Malachi Goodman at the left tackle, Trevor Burr and Cooper Cousins as the guards, Brock Riker, center, Anthony Donka, right tackle. I think this offensive line could be very good. Taylor Mauser said that Trevor Burr was practically the MVP of most of summer camp. He's looked great. Cooper Cousins has been on fire. Goodman, we'll have to see. He beat out Garrett Sexton, and it was a closer race than people think. And everybody already knows about Anthony Donka. Obviously, the key is trying to keep those guys healthy. Now, I do like the depth at tackle. The two tackles, the second-string tackles, are Garrett Sexton and Owen Alicini. Who's number 3 there? I'm not sure. It's kind of up for grabs. I don't know if it will really matter, because one will probably be the backup left tackle. There'll probably be the backup right tackle. But they're both very good, solid players. Garrett Sexton really gave Malachi Goodman a run for his money, from what I was told. The issue, the concern is the depth behind on the interior, because they're without some key guys that were banged up, that are held out of camp. They just started participating recently. Vea Koa and Donnie Harbour are two of the names. The depth on the interior is a significant drop off. The drop off from offensive tackle, first string and second string, not quite as much, but definitely some concerns on the interior. Hopefully, getting those two guys back on the interior healthy and getting them up and running will help matters. But I'm big on this first string offensive line. I think they're going to surprise some people. I think they got a lot of talent, and I think all they got to do is execute, put it together, and they will be a solid offensive line. Anything you want to add, or where do you want to go next?
Nope, I think it's going to be a good offensive line. Let's go to running back next.
Okay, so running back. So I've been told from way back in spring, even, that from the connection that is always telling me to text his questions, and he was told that Quentin Martin, even back in spring, was killing it. And he was. He put on good weight, and he's been balling out. He's the best receiving back of the 3. He is the most explosive, the fastest. it looked like he's going to be probably RB2 behind Hansen. All of a sudden, and James Peoples started off slow. All of a sudden, now James Peoples, last 2 weeks, has been balling out, and he may have overtaken the RB2 spot. James Peoples has been the best running back. Hansen's been out. So, but between Martin and Peoples has been balling out, has been the best running back of camp the last few weeks. So, it's interesting. I don't know how much it'll matter as far as who, and I said, like one guy had a problem with it. I don't know why. Like, I'm not anti Carson Hansen at all. All I'm trying, he's a good solid back. 5 yards to carry, nothing wrong with that. Big bruiser, wear defense down. All I'm saying is, why are they penciling him in as a starter automatically when you got two very talented guys behind him? Why not just have an open contest? They have an open contest for other positions. That's all I was saying. But it probably won't end up mattering. Hopefully they go with the hot hand in the game. Each back has their own unique skill set. Hansen's the big bruiser, wear down defenses. Martin, as I said, he's the fastest, most explosive. Peoples is like maybe one of the more complete backs, compact, really good vision, good lateral movement. So I think their running backs are very solid. But James Peoples, last couple of weeks, has really showed out. So
yeah, that's huge. That's huge for James Peoples. I know with him at Ohio State last season, he was an electric runner, somebody with a lot of athleticism. Go back and watch that highlight against UCLA. He had a fantastic hurdle. His biggest thing was vision at Ohio State. He just never really seemed to be able to get the vision right to be able to find the hole. If he's starting to find the hole at Penn State now, he's going to look like a really good running back behind Carson Hansen there.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's small sample sizes. Like all these guys have ability. It's just like some guys flash and make plays and, a few practices here, other guys don't. And then, next week, that's the other guy. It's a small sample size, but these guys all have ability. So I think we're fine at running back.
All right, let's move on to wide receiver.
Okay. Wide receiver. So we already know pretty much covered this, who the starters are going to be. It's good. When they go with 11 personnel, starters are going to be, you're going to have Brett Eskelson as the X receiver, the deep receiver. Chase Sowell is going to be your Z receiver. Kobe Howard is going to be your wide slot receiver. So that's pretty much penciled in. Your second string receivers. Okay, now this is interesting too. Amari Jackson started off camp on fire, and he's still playing very well. But he kind of leveled from by all accounts, from what's being reported and what I've been told, he's kind of leveled off a little, where Keith Jones Jr. actually has been really flashing and making a lot of plays. Like Keith Jones Jr. is running, and Keith Jones Jr. is the 6'5" speedster receiver they got, the transfer from Grambling State. And he's been primarily with the second string, but he's been balling out second string. He's been supposedly making plays regularly and just been pretty consistent. So I don't know if he overtook Amari and Mitchell, and it really doesn't matter because they play a different receiver spot. And Zay Robinson is probably the most, of even the starters, has been one of the most consistent guys in camp. So your second string receivers, you're going to have Keith Jones will be your X, your deep guy. Amari Mitchell will be your Z, backing up Chase Sowell. And Zay Robinson will be your slot guy, backing up Kobe Howard. And what I find really interesting about this, and it's kind of like fitting, like just how the receivers been at Penn State, is of all those receivers, you were three backups. Not one's a Penn State guy. Not one was a Penn State guy. Nothing about Lyric Samuel, nothing about like Peter Gonzalez. And, Gonzalez come back from an injury. I mean, he's back now. Lyric Samuel's been there. Zay Robinson, is just a second year guy. Martin Jackson's a freshman. It's just kind of like interesting and fitting that it's like no Penn State receivers are even breaking the second string. Obviously Kobe Howard's their first string, but, and I think the guys are pretty good. Like, I don't think they're just low-level guys that, flash a little here and there. I think some of these guys could be pretty good. So that's why. Oh, and Karan Brookins. Karan Broken, as Taylor Mauser said, is talented as any receiver they had. He's another 6'5" tall receiver, deep threat, kind of similar, very similar to Keith Jones. He has missed all of spring camp, summer camp. He just came back, I think, this past week. He just got back. Said he was out for personal reasons. Nothing that he's like in trouble or did anything wrong. But he's obviously got some ground to make up. But supposed to be very talented. Just wanted to note that he's back with the team. So where are we going at?
One more. I think you said interior of the defensive line, right?
Yeah, we could cover that. So when I talked about the defensive tackles the last time, I forgot to mention Elijah Carnell. Elijah Carnell has really showed out. Elijah Carnell, like from all accounts right now, and this is another guy that they're pretty high on, kind of because he made a pretty big jump. And that's what my buddy said from talking to this guy, that this guy's really been surprising people. He's potentially a top 3 defensive tackle right now. He's definitely the top 4, and potentially he might be the 3rd best tackle on the team. So that's a good surprise, because you got, and he was a like hybrid defensive end / defensive tackle in their 3-3-5 defense last year at Iowa State. So, and he played there's reports where he played like almost like 270, like he's in the 280-pound range where he played, and sometimes he even got down to 270. Right now, he's a pure D tackle. He's not a hybrid. He's up 305 pounds, and he's one of the more athletic guys for as their defense tackles. And what I like about him is for how big all these other guys are, they're all kind of like one techs. Your other 3, so like Kano Williams, Armstrong, Nodine, and Sayali Tupaki. These guys are all 320, 330. So it's nice to have a guy that a 3 tech, but also could big enough, strong enough to hold up at the point of attack. And just and they said he's moving. He like his movement skills. He putting on this good weight. He hasn't lost a step. He's just as fast. He's moving just as well. So just wanted to note that he's Elijah Carnell has really moved up.
All right.
So
anybody else on the defensive line or anything you want to mention? Or
well, Max Granville, you've been hearing his name a ton lately. I think it's up for now. I think Ivan Camacho is going to start. But as far as who is the true best number 2 defensive end on the team, it's really close between Camacho and Granville by all accounts. But a lot of talk about Granville is how much he's progressed. Well, when you're coming off an injury, and other players are up here already, and you're starting down here coming off an injury, and you bolt up, well, yeah, you're going to progress more than they are. So, but he's explosive. He's like one guy that I think could be the true pass rusher on the team. That's one of the concerns about the defense is, do they have that one true pass rusher? Could they get pressure with their front 4? They're just their 4 down linemen. We'll see. But I do think, and Camacho could rush the passer too, but I think Granville is, he's easily the most explosive guy. His tape stood out. He's got good hands. He got good technique, and he's as explosive off the ball as any DN you'll watch on film. He's really that explosive. He put on more weight. I think he's 6'3". He's up to like 260 pounds now, so he's pretty maxed out his frame. So, but it'll be interesting. They're all going to play. Those 3, Akina, Izuka, Camacho, Granville, they're going to be your top 3 defensive ends. Haven't heard a ton about Alexander McPherson, who, I kind of had high hopes for because he had a lot of ability, film looked good. Not that he's playing horrible, just kind of quiet. You don't hear much about him. So, and that's pretty much it. Now, I will mention Caleb Bacon. Just want to clarify things because I know a lot of people are thinking he's going to be primarily a DN, and he may probably end up playing most of the snaps at DN, but he is not fully a DN. He is still a linebacker too. He's a DN / linebacker. There will be times they will move him back to linebacker. In fact, they talked to the D line coach was asked, is Bacon going to put on more weight now to play defensive end? And he said, no, he's not. He said, because they want to keep his quickness and they still need that ability at linebacker when they kick him back to linebacker. So he's not 100% a defensive end, even if that's where he plays majority of the time. Just want to clarify that. At least that's what they're saying.
He's your classic edge type of player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a linebacker, but he's going to play on the defensive line a lot.
Right.
He'll probably stand up a good amount. And who knows, with the D'Anton Lynn, he might get creative and have him stand up going up the middle or something like that. I mean, I think he's going to just be a versatile piece that's on the defensive line a lot of different places. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him on third downs when it's third and long for the other team.
Yeah, well, I mentioned this before. The one NIL event I was talking to Cooper Ebel about the defense, and their base defense is going to be a 4-2. And and I asked him about Caleb Bacon, where he fits in. He said that they're basically going to be a 4-2, but they're going to go to a 3-4 in a lot of situations where Bacon will come in as a pass rusher. So this one, that's what he.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
All right. Did you want to look at blue chip ratio before we get out of here?
Yeah, so, I know it's one of the things I harp on, and everybody thinks it means nothing anymore because, they cherry pick whatever's best fits for their team, and, like Indiana, because they want it all. Everybody thinks, talent doesn't matter anymore, which is crazy. But, so one thing people say about blue chip ratio is it no longer matters because of the transfer portal. Transfer portal can even things out. So, there's a site Punt and Rally. They incorporate they also incorporate the transfer portal into the blue chip ratio. So blue chip ratio, how Punt and Rally does it, similar to how Bud Elliott did it, not exactly the same, but similar, is it's all the 4 and 5 stars on the roster. They don't use the full roster to get their percentage. They just use 80 players. I mean, I don't know why 80, but that's what they picked. So if a team has 40 4 and 5 stars, they divide that by 80. Blue chip ratio is 50%. Ben Brahmer, who was a 3-star, I think, coming out of high school, I know he was a 4-star, now is a 4-star. He would be included in the blue chip ratio because they now include transfers. It's a more accurate reading. Penn State is number 20 at 31%. So the question a lot of people have is, we know the schedule is not all that tough. We know this team has good talent and a lot of solid players. Do they have enough talent to make a deep run? Now, naturally, nobody's expecting them to win a national championship year one with a new coach and this big turnover. But hypothetically, if they make the playoffs, how deep could they go with the talent they have? Matt Campbell is known to be this great game D coach, doing more with less. How much of his coaching could carry a team that might not have as much talent as another team they face in the playoffs? So I think there's some interesting questions. I know they got to have a better blue chip ratio than 31% moving forward. I harp on that all the time. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but it's ridiculous that so many people think it doesn't matter anymore just because Indiana won it one year. But, I thought that was interesting. And you look at all the teams. When you take all of your historic blue bloods, your traditional powerhouse teams. Now, when I say traditional powerhouse teams, I'm including teams like Florida, Auburn. I don't care if they've been down for a little bit. They're still your traditional powerhouse teams. They're all in front of Penn State. Look at the teams behind Penn State. Look at the teams in front of them. They're all every single powerhouse team is in front of Penn State. So it's you got to bring more talent. You got to accumulate more talent. So I hope they learn some lessons in recruiting. I know that ruffles the feathers of some of the sunshine pumpers that watch the show and all that, but it is what it is. I'm a straight shooter. You got to do better than the 23rd recruiting class in the country. I don't care about all the excuses in the world. Matt Campbell just got here. Give him a chance. Blah 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 blah. Well, you know who else just got to where they got? Lane Kiffin, the Florida coach. Michigan got a new coach. And they didn't miss a beat. So come on, got to do better. But other than that, that's pretty much what I got. Excited for the season. So the one other thing I want to say about the talent, the other thing that's being talked about is, though this team has like good offensive pieces, we don't know how good yet. Obviously until we see them all come together, they're missing that one big game breaker. Like they don't have a Chris Godwin, they don't have even like a Jahan Dotson on offense. They don't have a Saquon Barkley or even a Miles Sanders for state type at running back. So they're kind of like, the two biggest concerns is probably like with the talent is lacking that one or two big game breakers, the playmakers. And on defense, definitely is, can they pressure the quarterback with their front four? They're the two biggest questions. Other than that, I think it's a really solid team. Like, I'm not down on them. I just hope they could accumulate more talent going forward. But I'm not down on them. I'm excited. I'm going to say, I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to say 10-2 for a regular season. Earlier I said 9-3, but I'll say 10-2.
I have them as well. That's where I have them as well. I think we could see Penn State in the playoff this season if they go 10-2. It's going to be very interesting. And you know what? All the questions about talent and stuff like that, we'll see it be answered on the field. So
yeah, we'll see.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening and watching to the Big Ten Huddle. This was your Penn State episode weekly here on the Big Ten Huddle. Come back every Thursday at noon for another episode here with Chris, and we'll be able to fill you in on everything going on with Penn State. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.
See you later, guys. Man.